All right. Welcome into our pre-tournament podcast for the Battle in Bothell. This is, I believe, tournament number 9 for us out of 11. It's been a long circuit. It's been a lot of fun. We've been to LA and Northern Cal. We just did Boise, Ellensburg, Seattle, Vancouver, Portland. Really excited about this one. This is one of our bigger tournaments, numbers wise, for 7 on. I think it's our deepest and most stacked tournament for 5-on-5 on Sunday. So going to be a lot of fun. We moved it up to Stanwood High School, needed a bigger facility with the amount of teams that we have. So really cool. And normally I am doing this with Brandon Huffman from 247 Sports. Today we've got a special guest with us, Ryan Clary. And Ryan, most of you are familiar with his name. Ryan has been on the scene for a lot of years, and this year has really started to explode in his coverage, in his content, in his following. Ryan is followed by pretty much every college at every level in the country, all of the different media outlets, players now, everybody. The thing to do is to be tagging him, adding him when they're making posts, because I always say, like, you want to be the sun in the solar system, and Ryan is becoming that in this industry with his contacts, his reach, his credibility. If you go check his thread from our tournaments, you'll see from Boise last week, Ellensburg a couple weeks before, Portland before that. He's out covering, and he's covering the youth divisions. For all the people listening, I mean, he's covering 5th, 6th graders and 7th, 8th, and freshmen in high school. Pictures, videos, interviews, mentions, and he's doing it with a high degree of credibility and getting more followers. Our social media is blowing up. So Ryan, with all of that, I feel like I'll let you say hi before we dive into this. Did I set you up properly? Did I gas you up enough, my guy?
Oh yeah, I think we did all right. You know what I mean? Maybe a little too much, but I appreciate it.
Good deal. So I Ryan is in an area with reception where he's just going to be voice on this podcast. Unfortunately for all of you guys, I am video now. I've said it before, and I'm still trying to figure out when everyone tells me I have a face made for radio. I don't know exactly what they're saying. I think they're insulting me. I'm still trying to figure that out. But anyway, you're seeing my mug for the next few minutes as we go through this tournament, and we're gonna jump into this. It's a as I said, a big tournament. We've got 70 plus teams, teams from all over. We have a new program coming from Montana. We got Canada, Idaho, Oregon, Washington. A lot of really top programs, players. So I'm excited on this one. Ryan, we'll dive into this as we talk on some different programs. You can jump in and make comments on anything as you see fit. Let's start out, Ryan, with just a couple programs kind of on the west side. Let's start out with Next Level. You've got Next Level, you got Jeremy and Sean Ridley that are running that program based out of the Olympia area, doing a really good job. They got a high school team this year. I know they're going to expand that program more over the next few years. And then we'll talk about Kamiak High School, and that's an exciting one. It's a high school-based program, 2 teams at the high school level, a freshman team. Ivan, Coach Mack, has bought into the concept of what we're doing. And the kids, I've watched this team get better and better as the tournaments have gone through, and they've been part of our high school league. So Ryan, talk a little bit about Next Level and Kamiak.
Yeah, so for next level, they had a kid I really liked when we were down at Canby, Andre Alexander. He's a 2026 at Black Hills High School, 6'1", 170, good athlete, projects as probably a DB in college, but I know he was making a bunch of plays for them at receiver. Kamiak is a team I got to see out in Ellensburg. Great group of kids, I got to start off by saying. I really like Zamari Mitchell. He's a newer kid to Kamiak, moved from Texas, I want to say last year or the year before. But seeing him run around at tight end was good, but I definitely think he's a linebacker at the next level. I also really like Ashton Smiles, who played some quarterback for them, but again, it's another one of those shifty athletes that I think can definitely make you miss in a phone booth, as some would say.
There you go. And the phone booth reference, I love it. I said that to a kid the other day, and he looked at me And it made me think like this kid didn't even know what a phone booth is. Like they just that's how old I am. You just dated yourself a little bit,
Yeah,
Ryan,
Yellow
with the
Pages
phone
may
booth
not be a
reference.
thing
But
anymore.
all right, let's talk two other West Side programs south of the Seattle area, Gig Harbor, and it's another one. Darren Reeves is just doing such a good job as the head coach of that program. He's really bought into the concept of his kids getting involved in 7-on and in 5-on and just getting reps, playing with each other, running your own system. And it's so cool to see their teams coached by seniors in the program. And we're seeing that more and more. We're seeing that with the Jags, with Jake Skockle and his crew. And I love it. That's where things are trending. Darren Reeves is a coach that thinks ahead and has got a program, I think, over the next couple of years is just going to really blow up. So we've got Gig Harbor High School, and then we've got Gridiron. Gridiron is run by DQ, DeQuinn Evans, who is one of the best just people you'll meet. Great trainer, one of the best line coaches, I think, in the country. Has his program, his facility based in Tacoma. Does a really good job. They got 7-on teams, 5-on teams, a lot of talented kids. They do a very good job. He's got Herschel Dennis, who had been a Long Beach Poly kid, played at USC, if that's a name familiar. That's his right hand running that program. So, Ryan, talk a little bit about Gig Harbor and Gridiron.
Yeah, so at Gig Harbor, I feel like they're led by two 26s. First one's DJ Darling. Some may know his dad, DeVard Darling, was a big time player, I believe, at WSU back in the day. Then they have a 26 DB as well, Liam Green, who I really like. Is about 5'11", 175, can go make plays. I've seen him play since he was shooting eighth grade. Yeah, with Gridiron, I think DQ does a great job with the D line and the O line stuff. And, I think his skill work doesn't get enough credit. So he has two kids that I really, really like. He has a 6'2" corner that goes to Franklin Pierce, Tayshawn Wood, who I've seen at a couple tournaments. And then he has a freshman, Jeremiah Orcutt, who also goes to Franklin Pierce, who's going to be one of the next up in the class of
Yep.
27.
Absolute stud. He's been MVP. Seen him just dominate on both sides of the ball. To take a step back on Darling from Gig Harbor, yes, his dad DeVard actually started out at Florida State, and this was pre-transfer portal. Ended up at Washington State and then played in the NFL. But his mom was also a track star at Washington State as well. So when you talk about genetics and what he's coming from, and I remember seeing him as a freshman and talking to people, and I remember at our showcase last summer pulling Coach Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, who were at UW now, DeBoer at Alabama and Grubb with the Seahawks. And I remember pointing him out saying, listen, this kid, keep an eye on him. And Grubb went right over and introduced himself. But kid's an absolute stud. And that's what I love, Ryan, about what we do is being able to see kids in our events and then talking to college coaches that you and I are talking to every single day and interacting with them and being able to put these kids under a spotlight and on a platform and help them get their names out and get connected. So yeah, a lot of fun, great insight into those programs. Let's hop over to the east side now with No Limit. No Limit is based in Spokane, Washington, and you got Jeremiah Dawkins, you got Marcus White overseeing and running that program, doing a really good job. They've got a lot of talent in that program. They've got a middle school, a freshman, and a high school team in this tournament, and then also talk a little bit about Grind City, a team out of Moses Lake, who they have a middle school team and a high school team. Their high school team has been flirting with winning a championship, been in semifinals, championship games. Can they get over that hump? We'll see this weekend. But talk about No Limit and Grind City.
Yeah, both those programs each have two 26s I really, really like. So starting with No Limit, they have a kid, Isaiah Dawkins, who has probably made the best play on the circuit yet. He had a one-handed interception that was
Yeah,
beautiful to
crazy.
see on Instagram. 2026 kid going to Gonzaga Prep, about 6'4", 200 pounds. And then they have a corner that I think has a chance to really explode. Jerry Meyer III went and watched his tape, had so many interceptions, I didn't know if it was legit. Then come to see on Twitter, he broke the school record for interceptions. So he's another 6'1", 180 kid that long arm looks really, really good. When it comes to Grind City, it's always fun to see these high school programs, like you said, that go play select. So they're pretty much all Moses Lake kids. Quarterback Brady J threw for over 4,000 yards last year. 48 touchdowns. And a kid that I know is starting to catch some pub in college circles is they call him Demi, but Demetrius Holman. He's a 2026 receiver, 6'2", 190. I think has some positional versatility as well. That can even go play him at linebacker or safety on defense. But he made a great play last weekend as well. I want to say it was almost a game winner, a head top. I don't remember
Hmm.
exactly who he played against, but it was he's legit and he'll let you know when he makes a play as well.
Love it. I love the swag. I love the swag. I want to mention a couple programs, give you a breath here, Ryan, then we'll talk about a couple more programs. I'm excited this weekend. Some programs we can give analysis on kids and programs we've seen, just uh, in season, in other events, in our events. And then there's some that are new that we just haven't seen him. Got a new one coming this weekend out of Billings, Montana, Big Sky Grizz. Um, Theo Johnson is bringing his team out. He was hoping to also bring a youth team and a 5-on team, but starting out right now, they got a high school age team. I'm excited to see it. I did Root Sports commentary, color commentary for about 7 or 8 years, and we do the Big Sky Game of the Week, and we're always in Montana State doing games there. And so I got a chance to get out and see some Friday night high school games in Montana. And there's a lot of talent there. Montana State, as successful as they are, they've got a good nucleus of in-state Montana kids. And so Theo is really trying to build a program and get these kids traveling around. You just don't hear about a lot of Montana 7-on teams. About 5-6 years ago, you didn't really hear about Boise teams. And now there's a ton of Boise programs, really good ones, and in the surrounding areas. And I think Montana is kind of that next step. It's not huge population wise, not known as a hub for recruiting talent, but there are a lot of good kids. So I'm excited to see this program and team, let them get in the circuit, get involved. I know they're planning on doing more with us in the future, another tournament later this year and then more next year. So I'm really excited to see them. Wimberley training. So Justin Wimberley runs Wimberley Athletics based out of the Olympia area. He's got a middle school team. He's got a high school team. They've got a lot of talent too. They're one thing is he's a speed, agility, quickness, strength trainer. And so all of the kids, when you see them, they're all really fluid athletes. They're built well. They run around really well. They're fluid. So you can tell that they're trained really well. This will be the third tournament they've been in of our 7-on circuit this year. It's been a couple years since they have been in our stuff, so getting reacclimated with a lot of their kids in the program, but love having them in. Justin does a good job, and I'm excited to have them be a bigger part of our stuff as we move forward and see more of their kids. Seattle United. So we got Chase Crappie and we got Courtney Sanders, and they're two of my favorite guys. They just do such a good job, and they've been around on the circuit for a long time. Have been involved in different programs and youth sports and doing all their stuff. And I'm really excited to see the growth of Seattle United as they've been doing all of their stuff. They've got 4 teams in it, couple middle school teams, high school team, I believe a freshman team too. And they've got good kids coming through there, and they're building this program. So over the next couple of years, just keep that name in your memory bank, Seattle United, what these guys are building up and how they're doing it, watching them go from 1 team to a couple teams, now to 4. And I've seen them kind of get rid of maybe some kids and families that, weren't what they wanted their culture to be. And I respect that because that's a hard thing to do. And it's playing a long game. And these guys are doing it the right way. And it's just the utmost amount of respect for them and what they're doing. So remember that name, keep an eye on them, because over the next few years, I think they're going to be one of those powerhouse programs, not just in the Northwest, but on the West Coast.
To cut in
One
real
more
quick,
team. Go ahead.
yeah, they have a freshman. I don't know if he plays 18 or 15, but he goes to Bellevue. His name's Mo. He will be one of the top kids on the West Coast when it's all said and done.
Love it.
He's the real deal. Linebacker, tight end. I believe he plays like slot for them and linebacker on defense.
Love it, love it, and obviously seeing them this weekend, we'll get a lot more insight into all of their kids and the different teams. So excited to have them in there. One other team I want to mention is Yelm. We've talked kind of the theme about these different high school programs. Kamiak and Gig Harbor. Yelm is another one. Jason Ronquillo, the head coach there, has just done such a phenomenal job. That culture, when you talk culture, it starts at the top and it trickles down. And they have had their high school team 5 on and 7 on in some of our tournaments. For this tournament, they just got 3 teams youth level, fifth, sixth, and a couple seventh, eighth grade. Philip Ogle is in charge of overseeing that and does a really good job of from a youth standpoint. You see the high school coach running a program, and you got to get great youth coaches. Also, Jared Mathis, those guys, they buy into what Coach Ronquillo is teaching. They're teaching their kids, they're getting them around traveling. They're like, look, we want all the smoke. Let's go to these tournaments, play all these select teams, go compete. And I love it. And you see why that program is so good, because the youth kids are coming through being groomed and taught by great coaches and mentors. Then they get to high school and you've got great coaches and mentors there. So they're just, when you look at a program from top to bottom, high school down to youth, and you say, how do you do it the right way and how do you have long-term success? Yelm is a program to look at, and they've done such a good job. So we don't talk a ton about youth programs, but wanted to give them a shout out. So let's get back to the expert here on the kids and the analysis. Ryan, let's talk about stay on the west side. Let's talk about a couple teams. We've got ETA, Elite Training Academy. Michael Bumpus, former Wazoo superstar, was with the Seahawks. He's all around on Pac-12 Network and Seahawks and media. And then the program's overseen and run now by John Thompson, who was also at Washington State. They have done a really good job building up that program. I saw them in year 1 building it up, and now they're up to 8, 9, 10 teams. They have third, fourth grade, all the way up to multiple teams in the high school division. They've had a lot of talented players come through, really well-coached, disciplined team. They've won championships at multiple levels this year. Ryan, talk a little bit about ETA.
Yeah, so for them, at receiver, they're led by Junior Vargas, who's a 2025 receiver from Sultan, who out in Ellensburg, when they needed to play, like, it was going to him. Everybody in the stadium knew and still couldn't be stopped. QB-wise, they're led by Jalen Vyers, who was at Bothell High School, who I know multiple colleges are keeping tabs on. So I think that duo right there is definitely one of the best on the association. I just think they do a really good job as well.
Yeah, really talented, just discipline. They're not going to beat themselves. And in 7 on, that's such an important thing. Let's talk about another program that is really intriguing to me, and it's been fun to watch them grow and build. We're talking about Whatcom Hype, J.R. Nelson. He was a star at Montana, University of Montana. He is based out of the Linden area, has really grown that kind of northwest Washington area. They've got 6 teams in this tournament, youth, 10U, all the way up to high school. And it's been cool to see him build it and build it the right way, just with good coaches, good players, good families. They're one of those programs we kind of point at and say, man, I wish we could clone them, because they just do it the right way for the right reasons. So shout out to JR and crew. Ryan, talk a little bit about the Whatcom Height program and some of the kids.
Yeah, just to reiterate, JR is definitely one of the best people you'll meet. This weekend, they're led by Lucas Lodgy, a 2027 quarterback over at Linden. Shout out to our guy Farhan. He's big in the CFL and stuff up in Canada, but his son has come down, he's playing high school football in the States, and has done a really, really good job. And I'm excited to see him get his first real action this year, just coming off injury on the circuit.
I got one program I wanted to kind of save for last for you to talk on 7 on. Let's talk one more high school and then a couple youth. The Jags. So this is, again, that theme of high school programs. It's Emerald Ridge, and we got Jags Green and Jags Black. And Jags Black actually won the Ellensburg tournament that we had a couple weeks ago, and it was so fun to see it go viral. Jake Skockel, who was their starting quarterback last year, signed with Eastern Washington. Him and a couple other seniors graduating have been coaching and organizing the team, and I'm telling you, they do a phenomenal job. And it's just really fun to watch, and you learn a lot about the leadership of a kid and how everyone responds and reacts to him. And Jake Skockel is one of my favorite kids that's ever come through our circuit and our program. Great family, and it's cool to see their team rallying around that. And there's a lot of talent in that team. You don't win a tournament in our circuit without having talent. So talk a little bit about the Jags team.
Yeah, I think what surprised me most after they won the title in Ellensburg was finding out like 80% of their team are freshmen.
Yeah, they're
So
young.
uh two of my favorite kids on the entire circuit I've seen though is the corner duo that they have, Dom Pace and Mateo. I'm gonna butcher his last name. So Mateo N. Both are 6'2", 6'3" long arm corners that can run, and we're making play after play after play. At receiver, they're led by Clayton Murray. He was the MVP out in Ellensburg. He's a 2027 slot.
The DBs, didn't you say one of them is in his first year or something like
Yes, I
that? Where,
believe it is Mateo is in his first year, and you look at that kid, and it's like, okay, walking off the bus, like that's
yep,
what they look like.
they were long and rangy. They reminded me a lot of like Sherman, Browner, who was at Oregon State when I was coaching there, was with the Seahawks. You know, you at DBs, you want those long, rangy guys that can stay up with the long, rangy receivers, and both of them are exactly that. So I've got one more high school team we'll come back to finish with for 7 on. Let's talk about two youth teams, Ryan, that are kind of intriguing for this tournament. We've got War, who is run by Rob Mason. It's a derivative of Rise, run by Michael Westbrook. And War is absolutely loaded. I mean, one of the best middle school teams in the country, talent wise, and just results. So I'll let you talk on them. And then the other one is Boom. Brian Mayes is running that. Jordan is the stud quarterback, and it's a really good group. It's their first tournament in our circuit this year with us, so I'm really excited to see them. So we don't talk a ton about youth programs, but Ryan, talk a little bit about both of those ones.
Yeah, for Ward, they're led by, kid, I'm gonna butcher this last name, but AJ Tuivai Ave. Everything I've seen, everybody's talking about. He's the next up. Going to Graham Kapowsin High School, has the tools and the talent to start as a freshman. His go-to receiver will actually be going to Graham Kapowsin with him next year as well. JC Hollis, he's a strong route runner with speed and has some really good hands. On the defensive side of the ball, they're led by Amosa Moose Masani. He's a receiver outside linebacker. He's a gamer on both ends. This team is arguably the best eighth grade team in the state of Washington. They do a really,
And
really good job.
let me step in. Hollis, I've watched his highlight films from tournaments and overall. I mean, this kid is a playmaker. He is dynamic. He reminds me of growing up when I watched Peter work at Florida State, and it was like, man, he was just playing at a different speed and level than everyone else. That's what he reminds me of. So keep an eye on him this week, and he is worth the price of admission to watch.
And then for Boom, they have three kids that I actually really, really like. First one is the quarterback, Jordan Meese. I think, he's gotten bigger over the years. His arm strength's gotten better. He can make the throws you really want. The kid that I think is going to blow up and have offers sooner than later is Titan McNeil. He's a big 6'4", 6'5" tight end receiver prospect. And then on the defense side of the ball, they have a kid, Scotty Dinwiddie, a 6', 180-pound DB that he's going to be really good.
Yeah, and this was, some of these were, kind of a derivative of the FSP program who's not in our stuff anymore. And it's unfortunate for this reason because these are kids that we could have been talking about all year in tournaments, spotlighting, shining like we do for every tournament. So I don't want to harp on the negative. Let's focus on the positive. They're in this one, and we're talking about them now. We're going to watch them all weekend. We have our photo crew, our videographer crews out there, so we're going to be getting content. You're going to be posting stuff throughout the weekend, so I'm excited for them to get on the platform that we provide and see what we're offering, and not so much focus on what they're missing, but just appreciate the decision they made to be in this for this weekend and hopefully more moving forward. So before I get into letting you talk about the last high school team for 7 on, and then we'll jump into some 5 on, a couple other programs I want to mention. Spokane Football Club, Mark Killian, has put together a team. They were flag football, and now they're jumping into 7-on, coming out from Spokane. This is the first tournament they've ever done with us. They're going to do our Spokane one next weekend as well. I'm excited to see them and just have them transition into 7-on, see the intensity of it. It's always shock for people when they come from flag football to 7-on because they think it's kind of the same thing, and it is not at all the same. It is so much more physical than people expect. So I'm excited to see those kids come in, get that experience, and have fun and compete. I want to give 360 Elite a shout out. They are a freshman team. Darnell Allen has put that team together and run it, and it's been really fun to watch them all year. They've done multiple tournaments, and to see them just get better and better. I saw them preseason do a scrimmage against other teams, and it was a debacle. They did not look good. They weren't organized. They weren't any of it, and they've just gotten better and better. And that's the leadership of Darnell and his crew of what they've done and put together. And this team has gotten better, and I'm excited to watch them this weekend, the rest of the year, and then next year as they continue to build out that program. Air, we've got their 6th grade team in. Reggie Jones runs Air based out of Puyallup, and they have teams at all different divisions, really well known nationally. They've got their 6th grade squad in this weekend, and they're one of the favorites to win that division. So I'm excited to see them. FA Alphas out of Bothell, Washington. You got Jory Fogerson, who does a really good job. This is a 7th, 8th grade middle school team. And Jory has built a program, and he's one of the really good dudes in this industry. And it's a program that's going to really build. He is putting together the foundation of something really special. He's got really good coaches around him. He's got good kids in his program and families. So I'm excited to watch them continue to build in our circuit. So remember that name too, the FA Alphas, Fogerson Athletic Alphas, based out of Bothell, Washington. We've got IBC, Island Boy Camp. We got our guy Fui coming up, his wife Tessa, two of my favorite people in the world. We ran our Portland event with them. It was so much fun. They're bringing up a bunch of 7-on teams, a bunch of 5-on teams. They're based out of Salem, Oregon, but they got kids from Portland all the way down to Southern Oregon. Super talented, super competitive, very well coached. They're swagged out. They're getting me one of those icy white sweatsuits they had this year that's so swag. My favorite sweatsuit I've seen in a couple years for sure. So I'm really excited to watch IBC. Last year, they came and won a couple of our tournaments. I expect nothing less than seeing IBC teams in a lot of championship games this weekend amongst all the different age divisions, as well as in 5-on-5. Air Saxons, they're a 3rd, 4th grade 10U team out of Salem, Oregon, and they're coming up as well. Really excited to see them. This is the first travel tournament they've come and done. So I'm excited to see this program and these kids get up here on the road and compete. And it's fun to see the culture of 7-on growing, and especially out of my home state of Oregon. A couple other programs to mention, Ryan, then I'll get to you. We got Mercer Island High School coming. First tournament with us they've done. DJ Mims is the head coach at Mercer Island. He took that job last year. He's been in this industry a long time. He was involved in the 7-on circuit with Air coaching in there, has taken some high school jobs, and at Mercer Island came in and just changed the culture right away. I believe, coach of the year, had a bunch of talented players that turned the program around. Really excited to see what he's doing with that program. He's an easy guy to root for. And it shows you he sees the bigger picture, getting his Mercer Island program into this tournament with select programs where he's saying, look, we just want to come compete, get better. So I'm really excited to watch this Mercer Island program. TOPPAZ, TOPPAZ, is a new high school program I know absolutely nothing about. I bring them up because I'm excited to watch them this weekend. And then Ryan, we'll be able to talk a little bit after the tournament and you during the tournament about some of the players you see and thoughts on the program. A couple other ones. We got Timberline Blazers are coming. Timberline High School based in the Olympia area. They've got a middle school team that's coming in. I'm excited to see them, their first tournament being in our circuit. And then we got the Hellcat Boys, which is a 5th, 6th grade team that's, a spinoff from another program. And that's what we're seeing a lot in this industry is there's a program that starts and then there's a spin-off to another one and a spin-off to another one, and all of a sudden you have four programs that all kind of stem from one. So Coach Q running the Hellcat boys, I'm excited to see them. A lot of talent in that group. They're a fifth, sixth grade group, so we're going to see them around for a lot of years. So those are all the 7-on programs. Now the last one I saved, because this is a special one, we got the Wipe Me Down boys. The Wipe Me Down boys, they're looking swaggy with their uniforms. They got kids from all over, based out of the Bellevue area, and kids from all over the state of Washington and Oregon. They've got a high school 7-on team, a high school 5-on team. We're going to finish with 7-on right now. This is maybe arguably the most talented 7-on team in the entire Northwest, with personnel, with all the kids that have offers and star rankings and all of that. Ryan, talk a little bit about the Wipe Me Down boys 7-on team.
Yeah, so they're led by Landon Renfro at quarterback, who goes to Eastlake High School. There's 12 kids on the teams with Division I offers. Some of those guys are players like Brock and Brady, the brothers over at Anacortes, Reich and Moon, Bryce Smith over at Bellevue, Lance McGee over at AC Davis, as well as Jack Sievers, Archbishop Murphy, Demond Lewis at Bellevue. Both were recently rated 4-star recruits by ESPN or 247. And then there's some sleeper kids that I like Tristan Drummond. He's a small school kid at Bellevue Christian, 6'2" corner that went 11-1 recently. As well as Parker Mady, who had a really, really good camp at Under Armour testing wise. I believe he was a top 3 40 time there. So speed and athleticism is definitely something they highlight, but size is also, I think, a big part too. I think they have 2 kids under 6 foot. So
I mean, that's why I said you see them on paper. That's why it's arguably the most talented in the Northwest, and a new program that is going to just keep growing and building as it's a good culture, good coaches, and doing a good job of marketing and promoting the kids. And especially as we get into the tournament, I'm excited to see that. The kids are going to have fun. So one of the teams that we put them featured Saturday night under the lights in the stadium, so everyone can see it. They're going to be on full display. This is going to be a big stage, so really excited to see them. Let's finish out just talking real quickly on the 5-on-5 tournament, Ryan. That's Sunday only. We have just the high school division. We got 9 teams. We have Provision from Spokane coming out, run by Greg Peach. Jake Hoffman is right-hand man running things. Dario Romero with their line does a really, really good job. We got the Wipe Me Down boys 5-on-5 team, loaded, super talented. We have Kamiak High School, who we mentioned, Coach Mack. Gridiron, DQ Evans out of Tacoma. That's their bread and butter, is linemen. They've won a bunch of tournaments. You got IBC. We talked about Fui out of Salem, Island Boy Camp. They're loaded with all their offensive linemen as well. And then you have Gig Harbor High School. Mentioned Darren Reeves, the head coach, got his 7-on teams in. They also got their 5-on kids getting in and competing. So the Gig Harbor kids, maybe not as many names that are on a bunch of radars, but they're very talented. I've watched them get better and better, and their long-term objective is fall for their team. So I love that they're in this competing against other high school teams, select teams. But Ryan, talk a little bit about some of these programs. Let's start off with IBC and Gridiron.
yeah, so IBC has arguably a top 2 or 3 eighth grader, regardless of 7-on-7 or 5-on-5 in the Northwest, named PJ Tatu. Saw him down at Canby High School when we partnered with Fui, and he is all of 6'3", all of 240. Has already grown a beard and a mustache. Like he is going to end up going to Central Catholic, but he's going to be one of the top players, regardless of grade, at this entire event.
You mentioned Gridiron too.
Yes. So for Gridiron, like I said, DQ, I think honestly, for me, if you want to see who the best lineman trainers are, you look at the youth.
Yep.
Technical, they're 8th graders, and all of them is great. But talking about high school, they have a kid, Samedi Jennings, who's over at Life Christian Academy, big 6'3", 310 interior offensive line prospect, as well as they have a couple 26, 27s at Curtis that I think have a real chance with Robbie Lavatai. He's another 6'3", 6'4" D-end that flashed for me when I last saw them. And then finally, they have Derek Coleman Broussard, who was recently rated by 247 the #1 player in the state of Washington. Was also Under Armour MVP at the camp 2 weeks ago here in Seattle.
the other teams I kind of mentioned, but you can talk on. Let's start with Kamiak and then go to Provision on the east side out of Spokane.
Yeah, so Kamiak has arguably probably top one or two most intriguing defensive linemen in this cycle in the state of Washington, and Victor Sanchez. If I'm not mistaken, he's like the number two Taekwondo, ranked Taekwondo in the world or in
Hmm.
the US. Like super athletic, 6'5", 230 kid that's probably garnered, let's say, I think 6 or 7 offers recently. And then Provision has arguably one of my favorite alignment just in the state, regardless. When I talk to college coaches, Marcus Fecho, big 6'6", 280 lineman who recently took fourth in state for wrestling, as well as they have an interior offensive line prospect over at Mount Spokane. It's Spencer Drury.
Yeah, very and we talked about DeQuinn Evans being one of the best line coaches, Greg Peach, Dario Romero with Provision, definitely some of the best line coaches, not just in the Northwest, but in the country. These guys are phenomenal, and they do it the right way too. Like it's the culture they build. They run it the right way. They're good people. So I love having them at our stuff. They've been at multiple tournaments, and we put their Provision Black, their top high school team. They got all the smoke this weekend. They're playing Great Iron Stop team. They're playing White Me Down Boys. They're playing IBC. So they're going to see where they stack up, and that's what you want. You want to come and compete and get better and learn, and that's what they're going to do.
I want
So
to
just
add
like 7
too.
on, we left the last team for 5-on-5, White Me Down Boys. Ryan, talk about the White Me Down Boys 5-on-5 kids.
Yeah, I actually wanted to add two Provision names real quick that I like that I've seen recently. Carter Hansen, he's from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. He's a big 6'6", 290 D tackle. And I know I said Parker Drew. I had the name wrong. My apologies. Peyton Day from Mount Spokane is the one to look out for. And so for the White Me Down boys, they're headlined by their own linemen. So Hakeem Smalls was recently rated the number one lineman in the state by 247 in 2026. Jake Normile is the number one lineman in the state of Oregon for 2025.
West
Cody
Lynn, right?
Westland High School, yes. Cody Green from Mater Dei High School is a national top 40 player in the country, has 15 plus offers. Brady Ackerman is another offensive lineman with offers from Nooksack Valley. And then defensive line wise, Malijah Tucker from Tumwater is a Washington State commit. Damod Lewis, who will play some sevens, but is more featured in fives, is a 4-star defensive end. And then a couple other guys to highlight would be Jack Baradol from Eastlake, who just recently committed to Southern Utah, as well as Carlos Vallejo. He's over at WF West. He originally was somewhere else before he got there, but I'm really excited to see kind of how he takes his game to the next level as well.
Well, there you have it. Stanwood High School, Battle in Bothell. You are officially on the clock. Tournament number 9 of 11 on the Bravery Tour circuit. Ryan Clary, the man, the myth, the legend, getting you on here is a blessing. Someday maybe you'll show your face. I feel like you're just kind of teasing. You're like, listen, you'll get my voice this time. Maybe next time I'll show you my face. But Ryan, your insight is incredible, man. I recommend everybody go follow you. Real quick before we finish, Ryan, give everybody your social media handle so they can go on and follow you during the tournament with all the content you put out for the 7-on and 5-on kids.
Yes, so it's at Ryan RYAN underscore Clary CLARY underscore. And I'll be posting all my top performers from pool play for 7-on-7 and 5-on-5. And then when the time comes for Championship Sunday, I will be not live streaming, I'll be live tweeting every championship game. And usually what I do is touchdowns or interceptions, so you're not missing out on any of the big plays.
Awesome. You heard it from him. I definitely recommend giving him a follow for our tournaments and just overall. Appreciate everybody tuning in with us. This is going to be a really fun tournament. We got some great food trucks coming out. The facility is beautiful, fully turfed, lined football fields, lights on all of them, good bathrooms. So going to be a great vibe, a great setup. Look forward to seeing everybody there. Have a great weekend if we see you. If not, follow us on social media to stay up with all the happenings.
Yeah, appreciate you, TB.